Hey,
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, man?
Good.
I thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
I also thank you for listening to all my stuff that I sent you to. I I know I send you a lot of stuff.
It's okay. It's a policy of mine because of I didn't really get anywhere in this business for many years. And I sent songs to people, and they some of them listened, some of them didn't. And I thought, you know what? If I ever actually like get to make a living doing this, I'm going to listen to everything people send me.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it's just like returning calls. Just I never don't return a call or a text or something like that because it's I think it's bad juju, really.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I
You know?
karma, I mean, especially, nowadays, um, you know, a lot of bad stuff going on in the world, so you gotta
Yeah.
get some positivity.
Yeah, it's one thing I can do to, I don't know, just treat people with respect, I guess. I have a lot of students because I used to teach, at this college, IPR. I taught there for about 10 years, teaching audio engineering and music production and songwriting and stuff like that. And I have students from like 10 years ago. I haven't taught there. They went out of business and I haven't taught there in 5 years. But I have students that hit me up. I told them when I was teaching the classes, I said, my class comes with a lifetime warranty. You can always hit me up on, kevinbowe.com and I will always respond. And they do. 10 years later, like, hey, will you listen to this? Or what do you think of this legal issue or the songwriting thing or whatever? And I always get back to them.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we actually know each other through a mutual friend, Dusty. Um, how did you meet Dusty? Yes.
Yeah, we used to call him the wind,
Why is that?
dust in the wind.
Oh, awesome.
He lives in my neighborhood now. I see him with his wife and kid once in a while walking around because I live in Tangletown.
Mhm.
And so when I'm walking my dog, I run into him. I met Dustin because he was for quite a while. He was the second engineer at Terrarium.
Where's that?
That's downtown. It's probably my favorite studio in town. Um, it's just, I mean, it is beautiful. It's in Northeast and it is amazing. Like big drum room, perfectly designed Neve console, every piece of outboard gear and every mic you'd ever want. And it's owned by this really great engineer and great guy, um, Jason Orris. And I have made many records there, and it's just hands down my favorite studio in town. And Dustin worked there for a long time, and that's where we got to be pals.
Uh, were you working there or were you
No, I was
producing for
like,
somebody?
yeah, producing records there.
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome. And did you grew up in Minneapolis too, right?
yeah,
Is that how you got in? Because you started in the punk scene, right? You were more of a
yeah.
punk guy.
Well, I mean, I was first like when I was in high school in the '70s, late '70s. I was in a high school rock band, and I didn't write songs or sing it because I just wanted to be a guitar player. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all, you know what I mean? I just wanted to play the guitar. That was it. And we were, and I never wrote a song, not because I didn't think I could or anything like that. It honestly, I was so stupid, it never occurred to me. Plus,
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of drugs at the time. And so being naturally stupid and young and high, it's a triple threat to intellect. So graduated high school and then I got off drugs, which I've been off for 46 years. And one of the places after I got out of rehab, they threw me in this halfway. Well, actually, when I was in rehab, this kid played me the Ramones' first album. And I was like, what the hell even is this?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, why are these guys like trying to play bad? And I didn't understand it, but I couldn't stop listening to it. So it was really weird. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if I liked it. I knew I didn't understand it, but it made me very curious. And then when I got out of rehab, they put me in this halfway house, and there was a couple of punk rock dudes in there. This is like the very beginning of punk rock in Minneapolis, and like 1980. And then when I got out of that place, they invited me to be in their band, which was already like playing gigs and stuff. And that was a
Hmm.
punk band. We played it. There was a club in town back then called the Longhorn that was just it.
Yeah,
So great.
I was gonna ask you about that.
Oh, that place was the best. This is before, right before 7th Street got to be a thing. I mean, First Avenue was called Uncle Sam's, and it was a disco. You know what I
Disco
mean?
died out pretty quick, didn't it?
Well, I guess, yeah. In my life, it did. It's funny. I didn't listen to disco in the 70s, and now I absolutely love it. I just watched a 2-hour documentary on disco. I have tons of disco on my playlist and stuff. Big fan. But back then, I was too young and dumb to realize what great music it is. But anyway, the Longhorn, playing there was incredible because punk was new and not that many people were into it. So it felt like this kind of our little secret thing.
Yeah.
And we were a terrible band, but we opened for the Suburbs and we opened for the Replacements and Husker Du and stuff like that. So I wasn't in a great band, but I got to see a lot of great bands. And then when First Avenue opened or became First Avenue and started doing live music, there were nights in the like 83 where you could go to First Avenue and Prince and The Time would be playing in the main room for like $3. And then you could cross over into the entry and the Replacements or Husker Du would be playing. And it was like we were the best city for music in the world for a few years there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And a lot of really awesome bands, the Police, I've got a Police poster on my wall, but Elvis Costello, a lot of really cool people played at the Longhorn. And
They did.
is that how you met Paul Westerberg?
Let's see. Actually, this is a weird one. When I was in this halfway house, it was very strict, but they'd let us out sometimes on Friday nights or something to go to these sober teen dances, which is about as much fun as it sounds. It was very uncomfortable, very awkward. And one of them I went to, some idiot booked the Replacements to play at a sober teen house. I mean, that's anyway, obviously not a good idea. It was the Replacements' first gig under the name Replacements. They had played a
Oh,
few
wow.
gigs. Yeah, they had played a few gigs before that under the name Dog Breath. I don't know if the lineup was exactly the same, but so I had the same feeling about the Replacements when I saw them at this dance. They got kicked out after one set for drinking. Duh.
Yeah,
But I was like, this is the worst band I've ever seen, but this is definitely my favorite band of all time starting now. And they didn't even have many originals. They played mostly Johnny Thunder's covers and things like that. But they were terrible, but they were the best band I've ever seen.
that's
They probably
awesome. And
still are. When they were having an on night, they had a lot of off nights. But when they had a night when they were playing well, they were really untouchable. And that's when I met Paul and started to learn about songwriting instead of just guitar playing.
that's really cool. So how did you end up working with him then?
Um, let's see, how did that happen? He was looking for a guitar player for, and that, God, I don't even remember what year this would have been, early 2000s, for a TV appearance he was doing on one of the late night shows. They asked him to play, and he was looking for a second guitarist, and they called me. I think Michael Bland, his drummer, an old friend of mine, who played with Prince and is now in Soul Asylum. I think Michael Bland mentioned my name, and Paul was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that guy. Let's get him in here." And I auditioned, and they ended up doing that gig. I forget what late night show it was. Um, they ended up doing it as a three-piece without a second guitarist. But then, not that long after that, he decided to do a tour. Um, Paul Westerberg and His Only Friends was the tour, and he called me to kind of audition for that, and we did a few rehearsals, and I guess it worked. And so I ended up doing a 2-month U.S. tour with him, Michael Bland on drums, and uh, oh my God, am I going to forget his name on bass? And I really like the guy. This is the curse of being old. Um, it'll come to me in a little bit, but anyway, great guy. And so we did a 2-month U.S. tour, and then after that, it led to some recording and studio work with him.
That's awesome. How long did you work with him?
I guess on and off for a few years. I haven't heard from. I don't think he's doing any music anymore. I think what I heard is that he's painting now.
Oh,
Not like
that's cool.
painting houses. I mean, painting pictures, art,
Yeah.
and wants to be left alone. And I respect that. Plus, to be honest, I mean, I love his music, but he is a lot. He is exhausting.
Do you have
So
any
I'm,
like crazy stories about him?
yeah, some of which I can tell, some of which I can't.
Yeah.
Um, it was, I mean, sometimes it was when we, again, it's kind of like the Replacements. On the nights, so we did like this 2 month US tour, and I would say that one night out of three, we were really, really, really good. One night out of three, we were kind of okay. And then one night out of every three, we were terrible because he wasn't in a condition to play well. Um, and like one time we were playing this, one of my favorite Replacement songs, Swingin' Party. And it's kind of a complex song chordally. It's not jazz or anything, but I mean, it's not just a 1-4-5. There's a lot going on in there. And he started it a half step too low.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't have a guitar in a tuning that I could just do that. So I had to fudge my way through the song. And of course, he's on the mic saying, Kevin, you're playing terrible. You're so, it's like, you sound like you're in a Holiday Inn band, is what he said. And I was, you know, I was defenseless. I'm sure all the people at the show thought, God, who's this crappy guitar player he is? But that's the part of the deal if you're going to work with Paul. It's very complicated.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard he's a pretty, like you said, crazy guy. I also
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you how you started writing songs for other people because you mentioned when you spoke in my class in Dustin's class that you went to go see Journey and you saw like all these fireworks and these crazy guitar solos and it kind of made you feel like maybe I can't do that. So what gave you the confidence to go out put yourself out there?
The Ramones.
The Ramones, yeah.
Because if you listen to the Ramones' first album and you go and you've never played an instrument in your life, and you go out and buy a guitar, in about a few weeks, you can kind of do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's one thing I love about their music is that it's so inclusive. Music like that encourages people to play music. There's a few bands like that. Like right now, the band out there, Corey Wong, and
Yeah.
the people that he works with, those bands inspire young people to buy guitars and drums and basses and learn how to play them. Some music is just like that. It waves you in. And I find corporate rock like Journey, like it puts out the feeling you're not good enough to do this. You know, I
Yeah.
think Prince was another. Prince, especially the second half of his career, he kind of moved into this place where he was like a spokesman or a statesman for real music
Yeah.
and encouraging people to like don't lip sync, learn to sing, learn to play guitar. You can do it, you know. And also, you'll never be as good as me, which is completely true. But I started writing songs not because I wanted to, but this silly punk band I was that played at the Longhorn. One of our songs that people liked a lot was called "I Don't Want to Join the Army,"
Hmm.
and the lead singer wrote it. I wasn't writing yet. Maybe the lead singer wrote it with the other guitar player, and then he quit the band to join the army.
Wow. That's
That's what
poetic.
I said. That's what I said. Wow. And so we didn't have a singer. So it's like, okay, someone has to sing and write the song. So I stepped up just out of a more of a utilitarian sense of like, okay, well, we can't just stand there on stage. We need to, and someone needs to sing them. So that's when I started singing and writing, not very well. And it took a few years and a few different bands before I got a little better at writing. And then I had a lucky break where this producer that was a really big deal at the time, David Z. He co-wrote and produced the song Kiss with Prince. He engineered
Wow.
Purple Rain. Huge. He got the Grammy for Record of the Year with Fine Young Cannibals. And he was at a club. I was lucky because the woman I married she was the founding owner of the Fine Line Music Cafe. So I used to get a lot of opening gigs that I didn't really deserve. Then she sold out of that, and then Prince loved the Fine Line. He played there quite a few times and hung out there, and she always took care of him. And so he called her after she had said, I want you to build me a club because I really like, what you did at the Vine Line. And so she did. She built this club for him called Glam Slam and got it up and running and everything. And so I used to get gigs there, and I was doing an opening gig there. I certainly wasn't a headlining act, and you're not even close. And this David Z was in the audience, and he was watching the band, and he said to Ruth, "Wow, I really like these guys." And she said, "Oh, that's my husband." And so thanks to her and thanks to him, then I started being pals with him, and he wanted to hear some of my songs. So I gave him this was the cassette days. I gave him a cassette of songs. I know you find that quaint.
No, I think cassettes are cool. I collect them.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. God, it's been so long. Now they're cool again. Anyway, I gave him a tape of some of my songs, and he took one, and he went off to produce Kenny Wayne Shepherd's first album
Yeah.
on Warner Brothers Giant Records. And they recorded my song. And then they couldn't play the guitar part, the rhythm guitar part, right? Because I was in an alternate tuning on my guitar. So they sent the tapes up here. And I played, I thought they were going to have me down to Memphis. I was like, yeah, I get to go to Memphis and record. He's like, no, we'll just send you the tapes. So they sent the tapes up here, and I did it in a studio up here in Minneapolis. And it wasn't like a difficult part, but this was a kind of an interesting lesson. David was a very unique, very gifted, very creative producer. And he said, I want you to play it exactly the way you did on your demo. And I said, I can't do that. He said, why? I said, because I just plugged my guitar directly into a board, and then I put this quadraverb on it, which is not really professional equipment. It's like prosume level reverb. It has, like every effect in the world in one box that
Oh
you get
yeah.
for $300.
Yeah.
Everyone had one back then, but it's a home studio thing. You didn't really see quadraverbs in professional studios very often. And he said, I don't care. I love the sound on the demo. I want you to do it exactly the same. And so I did. And that was my first major label recording credit as well as songwriting credit. And so that led to a lot of the other stuff, because right after that, I met Johnny Lang and started writing with him. That's kind of
That's
cool,
all.
isn't it? That he doesn't care what
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I don't care if it's a $10 guitar. And that still happens today, because like this guitar, my wife gave me, it's a Maybell.
Mm.
This is a $100 guitar. And I use it on records all the time, because it
Yeah.
has this kind of junky, porchy, twangy sound, and I really, really like it. So you never judge a piece of gear by how much it costs, and I learned that from him.
I think that's awesome. And I think recently with like AI and stuff, people are actually looking for the more raw sounds.
Yeah,
You know,
often, yeah, that's
which
true. It's also cool when you take those ghetto sounds, like, and bump them up against something super, super processed, and there's a
yeah.
friction that happens, like programming a beat and then putting that guitar on it, or programming a beat and then having someone play upright bass on it. And
Yeah.
something happens. There's an energy that happens when those two worlds bump up against each other sometimes, I think.
Do you try to do that often? Do you like that tension?
Yeah, I do. It's I think one of the prime examples of it is that one big Amy Winehouse record. You know what I mean? That's one of the most brilliantly produced and written and performed records of all time. It's just amazing. Nothing sounded like that before that. And I've read as much as I can about how Mark Ronson did it.
Mhm.
And some of those drums are just one mic on the drum kit, and then they put samples in with it to make the grooves kind of not sound like hip hop, but like if you're listening, you go, oh, okay, these guys know what hip hop is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a one mic on a drum kit, but then every time he hits the kick, you throw in an 808 sample in there, and you've got those two worlds bumping into each other of like Motown or old James Brown with 90s hip hop.
Hmm.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool. How did you get into producing too? When did you start? Did you always want to do it, or were you just like, I'm gonna play in this band, play guitar?
I never wanted to do it, and I never thought I could do it, because when I met people like David Z, I looked at them kind of like unicorns. Like he's I could never do what he does. He's a magic person. I wasn't raised, I won't get into my childhood, but let's just say this. I wasn't raised to believe that I was good at anything. I wasn't
Yeah.
told that I was good at anything. Um, so I started producing, I started writing songs on a bunch of these albums. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to start producing, even though I didn't know how to engineer, which that's really weird because
Yeah.
now everyone assumes that the producer is engineering his own record. It's always almost always the same person, the producer and the engineer, right? But
Yeah.
back then it was often, like George Martin didn't engineer for the Beatles,
No.
Jeff Emmerich did. So I had this friend, Dick Shopto, who was a great engineer and had a great studio. And I was not an engineer and didn't have a studio. I had a little demo rig in my basement. And I put up one of these new things at the time called a website.
Oh
And I
yeah.
referred to myself as a producer, which was a complete lie, because I figured somebody out there was dumb enough to believe it and hire me because I did have a little bit of a reputation because of Johnny Lang. I got a couple of platinums with him, and then that Kenny Wayne Shepherd went platinum. But people didn't research enough to know that I just wrote the songs that I didn't engineer or produce. But sometimes you just got to fake it till you make it. And I did start getting calls. And the first call I got was this kid from Oklahoma named Shane Henry. And he was very young and very inexperienced. But a lot of people right at that point in time in the early 90s wanted to be the next Johnny Lang or the next Stevie Ray Vaughan. And so he even though he was very young, he like got on a plane and flew up here to work with me. And I was impressed by that. So we wrote some songs together. And I hooked him up with a manager and they shopped the demos around because that's what people did back then. And some little crappy little indie label in New Jersey said, yeah, we want to sign him. And they gave us a $15,000 budget for the record. And that allowed me to hire Stevie Ray Vaughan's bass player and drummer to come up to
Oh
Minneapolis and play on
wow.
the record. I know.
Yeah. That's
And I had
awesome.
no idea what I was doing. So we're in the studio and Whipper, the drummer, both of these guys are just, luckily for me, super, super great, nice people. He goes, okay, so how do you want us to play this song? And I'm like, well, why don't you just play what you feel first? You know what I mean? I'll react to that or whatever, because I had no idea. It's like, well, Whipper Layton, how do you think you should play it?
Yeah.
But so I stumbled my way through that. It wasn't the greatest work of art ever made, but it was released and it came out and it said produced by Kevin Bowe. So then I wasn't a liar anymore. I was telling the truth. I really was a record producer. So I did a whole bunch of records producing and with Dick Shopto engineering in his studio. And then I found myself getting pickier and pickier and like really crawling up Dick's butt and saying, like change this on the mix and change that. And I realized I was being really annoying. And I also realized if you're going to be that picky about the mix and the engineering, you got to, grow up and learn to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's just not cool. So I that's when I put my own studio together and started engineering and mixing. The mixing thing I learned, because that's tough. Mixing
Yeah.
is, you
Yeah.
know,
It can be
and
hard.
it's hard and you got to do it for a long time before you get where you want to be. But this guy I knew who managed a punk band called an old punk band called the Meat Puppets. Are
Oh
you
yeah,
familiar?
I know the Meat Puppets. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you really know a lot about music history. Um, so he said they need someone to mix their new album, and this guy was a manager. He wasn't really a tech person, so he didn't know that I'd never mixed anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He thought because I produce records that I was mixing them, and I'd never mixed a record in my life. And so I did the same thing. I mean, when someone offers you a gig, what do you say?
I'm gonna
Absolutely.
take it. Yeah.
No problem. What's the budget? And the budget was pretty good. So I called a friend of mine who's an excellent mixer named Colt Lieb. And it was great because we split the money and I did the editing because I was already at that point pretty strong editor. So I did all the editing and Colt did the actual mixing, but I sat there and watched him do it.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And so I got paid to learn how to mix. And after that, I think it's very rare now that I do a record that I don't mix myself.
It's almost like an internship, right? Kind
Paid
of.
internship.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you're right. Most of them aren't paid.
It was a
But
very lucky thing that happened, and I've definitely made the most of it because Colt is He's really, really a great engineer and a great guy. It was just a perfect setup.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really awesome. How did you how did you starting out as an engineer, not, you're talking about how you're trying to figure out, where to put things. Did you just did you ask around, or did you just do it until you got it right?
Both of those. Um, I'm lucky that I already knew a lot of people that were really good at it. I learned a lot from Dick Shopto, my first engineer partner. I learned a lot from work. This is the best thing about working at IPR, this college for 10 years, is like Colt Lieb worked there. Steve Hodge worked there, who was the main engineer for Flight Time during their reign of terror in the 90s and had, like 40 platinum records. And Tom Garneau. And there was other people that worked there that were just so good. And I could just, in my off hours, I could just walk and sit in on their classes and watch how they did it. I mean, that was amazing. That's how I learned. I learned a lot from David Z. I learned a lot from a British record producer friend of mine named Chris Kimsey, who's done like 6 Rolling Stones records. We got to be friends kind of randomly. And I learned a lot from those people, not just about the gear and how to do it, but like how to get the most out of an artist, and how to behave so that everything works and everyone's having fun.
Mm.
Chris Kimsey was a master at that. Um, how to get a musician to do what you want them to do at the same time, making them think that it was their idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Kimsey's a master at that. Um,
That Yeah, that's really cool. Are there any bands that you've worked with where, like, I don't want to say hate each other, but it's hard for them to put their heads together and all agree upon something?
well, the replacements thing is the biggest one that comes to mind because we did this reunion thing, which it's not really a reunion when Bob, the original guitarist, is dead, and Slim Dunlop, the second guitar player, he's now dead. At that time, he was in no shape to play on a record. Um, so we went into Flower Studio in Uptown, and it was Peter Anderson, my drummer from my last band. Great drummer, great guy, one of my best friends. Just love this guy. Thank God he was there. And he's on drums, and I'm on guitar, and Paul Westerberg is on guitar and vocal, and Tommy Stinson is on bass. And the tension in the room, I was like, I am 9 years old, and mommy and daddy are fighting, and the police are going to come. I mean, it was terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, but you learn to get through stuff like that and how to act so that to protect yourself and get the session to happen. And we got through it. Again, thank God for Peter Anderson. And the album came out, and it was pretty good. There was like 3 really good songs on there. So yeah, that was the toughest, probably emotionally. I've done a couple of other bands where they really didn't get along, but I probably shouldn't say. Um, it's a big part of the job, though, to make it still be good, make the room good, so that everyone's happy. It's an art, and you have to. I think the key to it. This sounds weird, but the key is humility.
Yeah. No, that
It's
makes
not
that
for
makes perfect sense.
it's not for me. This is a record for them. This day in the studio is for them. It's not for me. And so I need to, forget about my feelings and like, I'm tired. Too bad. They're not tired. They want to
Yeah.
keep working. Shut up and have a cup of coffee and keep working. This isn't for me. I think the music business has changed because back in the day of David Z, producers were king. And in some pop music now, like top 40 pop music, writer producers are still king. They're kind of more important than the artists in some
Yeah.
ways. Um, but at the level I work at, which is mostly independent, my job is a service position. I serve the artist. There's no label,
Mm.
you know what I mean? And there's no manager. And so I'm just trying to make the experience as best it can be for them, and luckily I've got a lot of repeat people. Like I'm just I'm working on 5 records right now, and at the same time, and one of them, it's the third record I've done with this group.
What are the ones you're working on right now?
So I'm near the end phase of this of Joanne Parker's next record. It's kind of a R&B blues rock band. I guess the way I would describe them is they're kind of the only one of the only bands in Minnesota that older people will go out and see.
Mm,
They can
yeah,
sell out crooners or the Dakota anytime they want, which is amazing. Playing original music.
which
And
is
people,
hard.
I know, right?
Yeah,
They're good enough, and she's a great enough singer and performer where she's got a strong following all around the state, even out in Wisconsin as well. And so they're doing really, really well in a time when nobody's doing really, really well. The only other band I can think of like that is also a band I'm finishing their record now. We're just to the lead vocal stage. GB Layton. They've been around for a million years. A lot of people take them for granted, but this is definitely the best songs he's ever written, and so I'm really excited about that record. Um, then I'm doing Katie Vernon, this British woman who's lived here for a long time. She has a new all-female, except one dude, band called Favorite Girl, and I'm just finishing their record. These are the best songs and the best vocals Katie's ever done. She's really in a personal renaissance, and so that's been and her band is super fun and great, and so that's been a really fun record. And the fourth one is, you ever hear of a guy named Chris Cruzy?
I don't think so, no.
He was a runner-up on The Voice maybe 6 years ago, something like that. And he's one of the few who's managed to parlay that into a successful career. He's like the king of Wisconsin. He lives in the middle of
Wow.
nowhere in Wisconsin on a really nice spread. And he plays kind of, maybe Chris Stapleton-ish kind of style, like roots country. And he plays every festival in Wisconsin, and they do really, really well. And he plays solo gigs. I mean, you can't touch him to do a solo gig, I think, for less than $3,000.
Wow.
Right. So I know he's amazingly successful. And he's been for the last few years, he's probably done, I don't know, 3 records. Anyway, he went down to Nashville to do them. And it always bugged me because he's one of the best singers I've ever been in a room with. I mean, he is
Really?
phenomenal. I mean, unbelievable voice. And he's going down to Nashville doing these records, and they sounded like records that are trying to get on Nashville country pop radio. And I just, I don't think that's who he is. I think he's a roots country like Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings, all my heroes. That's what he reminds me of. So I called him up out of the blue, figure, okay, he's either going to be really insulted or he's going to say yes. And I said, why are you going down to Nashville to make these records? I know you're spending a ton to do it. I don't think you're getting their best work because those guys are smart down there. They're saving their best stuff for the
Yeah.
people who are already on the radio. And I said to him, you're never going to get on country radio. You're never going to. You know what I
Mm,
mean? You are outlaw country. You are a redneck. You're a
yeah.
hillbilly. And he
Yeah.
revels in that. He knows he is. And he's like, you're right. And I said, this is what it would look like to do a record with me. You and me will write all the songs together. And we are having a blast. We're, I don't know, maybe not even halfway done with this record, but it is amazing. And he's really, really, really happy. And that's kind of as good as it gets for me in my job when the artist is, you can tell they're just having the time of their life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know for are you writing, producing, and engineering that record with the last one you were talking about?
Yeah, with Chris,
Yeah.
co-writing with him,
Yeah, that's
co-writing.
cool.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm not writing on Joanne's record or Brian Layton's record or the Favorite Girl record. They wrote all the songs themselves, but that's something I offer if people want it, and or I don't even offer it if I know they wrote their own songs. Then it's kind of can be insulting. Like, yeah, I heard your song, so do you want to? Maybe we should co-write some. That's not cool.
Yeah.
But then there's other people. If I didn't offer to co-write, they'd be insulted. So you kind of got to read the room.
Mm. Is that hard
What?
to read the room sometimes? Like, um,
It used to be, but that's what I mean about humility. When I'm working with an artist, I'm not paying attention to me.
mm,
I'm paying attention to them. And reading the room gets a lot easier if you pull your head out of your ass and focus on the other person and trying to think about what they need instead of what I want.
Is that, would you say that's like the most important lesson you've learned in the music business?
One of them,
What would be the some of the other ones?
always get paid half up front.
Oh wow, really? Do
Hell
people not like
yes.
to pay?
They like to pay me.
Yeah, I know. I know I think it's cool that you're doing all this with engineering, producing, and co-writing with Chris because as a solo artist, it's easier for me to put a lot more time and there's a lot more drive for me to do something, or at least personally, if I'm the one who's doing um the majority of the work. Um, would you say that's the same for you? Or do you think it's easier for you to, is there a better drive when you know what you want?
There's a better drive for me when I'm working on somebody else's music. Working on my own music, it's very easy for me to get bogged down and maybe too perfectionist and indecision and blah blah blah. And also, it's really hard. You know, as a writer, I've written songs that people like Etta James and Joe Cocker and Johnny Lang have sang. You know how hard it is for me to get excited about me singing one of my songs?
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like, or like I've had Robin Ford, one of the most legendary electric guitar players of all time. I worked with him. I worked with Leo Kottke. It's like I don't wake up in the morning going, I can't wait to play a guitar solo on this record I produce. If I'm the right guy for the job, I will. But I know my place. You know what I mean? I'm a really strong rhythm guitar player, and I like to do that. And over COVID, I got to be a really solid bass player, and I can do that. But for the fancy stuff, the joy I get over inviting someone amazing to come over and sing or play in my studio is much better, more than the joy I get of like, I did it all myself.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy.
Yeah. You were talking about guitars. What's your like, do you have a main guitar or do you just kind of go with whatever works?
Let's see if we can get the tell me when you're seeing guitars. I'm on a
Oh
laptop here.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I
are we
can see
seeing
them all.
guitars?
Yeah.
So what we'll have here, this is my favorite. It's a 63 Guild Starfire. It's been through hell and back with me, as you can see by the finish or lack
Oh
thereof.
yeah.
But 1963 Guild Starfire, I'm a huge fan of the Guild electrics. This is an American Standard Telly that has custom pickups in it. I'm not much of a Strat guy, but this is a really cool Eric Johnson Strat, and a guy just sent me custom pickups that he made, a friend of mine in Mississippi, and I had him put in the guitar, and they sound amazing. Got a fake Beatle bass. This guitar probably just got it for looks, but it ends up being a really cool guitar too. A
Oh yeah, is that a
Gretsch,
Gretsch? Yeah.
Gretsch White Falcon, yeah, has a lot of different sounds. Um, and then this old Parlor guitar from the 30s, Maybell, I think you already met. A regular Fender bass that has pickups from that guy in St. Paul that makes pickups, and I can't remember his name. I just got this at that stinky music go round in St. Paul on 7th Street, which is awesome. And
Yeah,
it's
that place is awesome. Yeah.
isn't it? I found this bass, this Jack Cassidy Epiphone hollow body, which I use all the time for $400.
That's a great, I mean, that's a great deal.
I think so.
I also play a hollow body. It's here I'll show.
Electric guitar or bass?
Yeah, electric guitar. It's this Japanese model of a 335. It's got the
Right.
diamond F holes and a Bigsby and you can pretty much play whatever with it. It's got the baritone knob so you can make it
Right.
sound like a single coil too.
Well, the guitarist in Joanne Parker's band has a beautiful 335, and it has. I don't buy as many guitars as I used to because I have a lot, and I don't play out anymore. But he had that 335 over here, and we used it on a lot of the record, and it made me think, I wouldn't mind, but they don't give those away, the real ones.
Yeah, no,
They're
the
expensive.
they are really expensive.
I know, what the hell. This
And
I have a Martin for my main acoustic guitar, which it's just a regular Martin HD whatever. But it's lovely. It is a lovely guitar. And
Yeah, most acoustic Martins are, I'd say, are probably the best acoustic guitars to buy.
I love them, and I tortured myself, picking the right one. But I do kind of wish, I wouldn't call it a wish list. Let's call it a want list. I wouldn't mind having a Gibson acoustic as well to kind of have the choice.
Yeah.
And I use this a lot. It's a Jerry Jones baritone guitar.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I really, really, really like this guitar. It's just really funky and greasy, and not everybody has them. And then there's a bunch of guitars in the other room, an acoustic Guild 12 string, a couple of 70s Guild electrics, those ones that are like fake SGs. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Two of those from the 70s that I really love, and an electric 12 string, and a banjo, and a mandolin, and just about
Mandolin's
anything
awesome.
you need. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you play when you were in your punk band?
I think I was still playing my first good guitar I ever bought, which was a Tobacco Sunburst Les Paul Standard,
Wow.
70s.
Gibson?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
They were probably a lot cheaper back in the day than because Gibson Les Pauls now they're like 3K, you know.
Hey, I had to
It's
wash a lot of dishes at the country club and deal a lot of weed to pay for that guitar. And I remember there was this sleazy music store in Northeast Minneapolis. And I was like 15. And so I go there with my mommy because I couldn't drive and I had saved up my money, and I bought this guitar. And I remember the guy in the store, he was kind of like he thought he was Ricardo Montalbán. He had like a crushed velour dinner jacket. And he was like, yes. And he started macking on my mom. Like,
wow.
I know. I was like, dude, that's my mom.
Yeah.
And so I bought the guitar, and I was like, God, let's get out of here. And then he looks at me and he goes, so did you want a case for it? Because I was so young and dumb, I didn't realize it didn't. So I was so pissed. I was like, no. And I'm walking down Central Avenue Northeast carrying this Les Paul with my mommy.
That's so funny. God,
Yeah, good times.
do you have a favorite music store in the city that you like to go to?
I don't buy that much anymore. And also, like, are you talking about for guitars or for like studio equipment?
Both.
Nobody sells high-end studio equipment in Minneapolis anymore. There used to be a couple of stores, but I think it's internet competition. And also, I think that's a tough thing to sell because it's expensive. So you have a lot of money tied up in inventory.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And while some mail order place, some online store is going to beat you on the price. And so I think it chased them all away. But guitar wise, I'd probably have to say there's Willie's, for high end vintage stuff. I was just there the other day. And Vig, that's the guy who made those pickups. His place in St. Paul is really nice. There's a couple other good ones, but I'm probably more likely to like skulk around a greasy old music go round and see if I can find something that Bobby left for college and he never really played this guitar, so I'll consign it, and it's something awesome. You
Yeah.
know,
That's what I did with this. I don't have it here with me, but I have a 335. It's a gold one, and I bought it used. It
mm,
had like a crack in the neck, and I love that thing to death. But it's unfortunately its time is coming to an end. Um,
you don't think it can be fixed?
um, I think it could be fixed.
I know a
I don't have
guy.
the resources. Really?
Mm. Well, this guy that plays guitar in Brian Layton's band, he's a phenomenal guitar player, and he fixes guitars at Willie's, and he's extremely gifted. He just fixed up this baritone and a couple of my other guitars, and he's a good dude. So if you ever hit me up, and I'll give you his contact info, you can at least ask.
Yeah, I'd really appreciate that actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
he's good. He's a good dude.
Did you want to talk about the Okama Prophets too?
Um, yeah, we're kind of dead. I don't play live music, and I haven't in going on about 10 years. It was weird. I I was spread too thin. I was working at that college teaching, and I was playing in my band, and I was in this other band too with Allison Scott, and producing records out of my studio, and I was just losing my mind. It was too much,
Yeah.
and so I thought, I got to let go of something. So I let go of live music. I quit my own band. I didn't. Can you quit if it's your own band?
No, I don't
I
think it counts
divorced
really.
myself. Um, no, I still sometimes I've made records with that of my own stuff. I don't know if I ever will again. I did one over COVID because I was bored, but I much prefer the studio to live. People are always like, "Don't you miss playing live?" And I'm like, "Not, no, not at
Really?
all." I'm just not a guy who, like, to be a really great live performer. I think you have to be one of those people who kind of lives for this,
Mm, yeah.
and I just don't. Um, I never really cared if the audience liked it or not. I mean, that's not true. I liked it when they liked it, but I didn't care if they didn't. But it's not that I don't have an ego or anything like that. It's just that doesn't trigger it. What trigger it, I think what triggers it for me, remember I was talking a minute ago about Chris Cruzy and how much fun he's having making this record?
Yeah.
That's my ego. I'm, you know what I mean? When an artist I'm working with, not just some audience member, a fan or whatever, but an artist says, I love this song we wrote together, or this album is better than I even thought that I could ever make. That makes me happy because I feel like it's coming from a credible source. I've done a million gigs where I played great and people didn't pay attention at all. And I've done a million gigs where I played terribly and people totally
Yeah.
paid attention and said, "Oh my God, you guys are so great," because they're drunk and they don't know anything about music. And so it's just an unreliable source for me. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm
Yeah.
spending a lot of time with an artist in the room and they say they're really happy with what we did. That means something to me.
I think that's great because I think a lot of people don't I think they take for granted working in the studio. They're like, oh, we're in here for 3 months, we're doing this, now we're finally done. I think it's great that you enjoy doing that.
Oh, yeah. Best day ever. I'd much rather work on somebody else's record than make a pointless record of my own that nobody's ever going to hear. And again, it's also back to the like, it's really fun to be a part of making music that a lot of people hear, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like uh, when I wrote this one song with Johnny Lang called Breaking Me and it went top 5, I used to get email from like, I remember I got this email. People would look me up through my website, right? And this woman said that song got me through my divorce. A total stranger, a woman
That's
from
awesome.
Texas. Yeah, and
Yeah.
the reach that you can have with that, and also the anonymity. Because if I make a record with an artist and their fans hate it, they're going to say to the artist, "I hate your record," but they're not going to like even know who produced it. So I'm insulated and anonymous, and I like that too because my thing is I get up every morning and by 7 o'clock in the morning I'm in my studio working. You know, I
That's
need
early.
one cup of coffee. It is early. Um, I one big cup of coffee, before I start working, and then I'm in. And I love that because if I was when I was playing live, it's like okay, we have to rehearse, and then we have to drive to the gig, and then we have to sound check, and then like even on that Westerberg tour, I realized it was like 22 hours of guys eating pizza and farting on a bus, and 2 hours, 2 hours of glory. I
Yeah.
don't like those numbers. You know,
Yeah.
I'm too much of a I don't know what I'm a junkie for like just the music part.
I'm kind of the opposite. I think I like playing live,
That's
but
great.
it's not because like of you're saying like oh get all the applause and stuff, but I like the way it sounds. Like it makes it's like almost there's like this cycle of you play something you think it's cool and then it re-energizes you to want
Oh yeah,
to do more, you know?
that's probably what will make you great at it because you feel that, And I've
Thank
felt
you.
that a few
Yeah.
times. I know what you're talking about. That's a thing. I just got burnt out because of too many nights where that wasn't happening.
Yeah. That
You
makes
know,
sense. Yeah.
I remember one night I was doing a corporate gig, just me and the singer I was working with at the time, Allison Scott, and she's playing keyboards and I'm playing electric guitar. And every 10 minutes, some person would come and tell us to turn down. And this is just guitar, piano, and voice. And so finally, I was like, you know what? And I Elvised it. Elvis played guitar for his shows, but it wasn't plugged in.
Yeah.
I just unplugged my guitar, an electric guitar. So there's like nothing happening. And they were like, yeah, okay, yeah, now it sounds great. And I was like, when are we done here? When can I get paid to go home? So you do a few nights like that, and it's like, I don't know. kind of takes the
No, I completely get it. Do
spring
you
out of your step.
you were talking about, Chris Cruz, country music, and we were talking about the replacements in Husker Du, and in our emails we were talking about The Cure too. And I
Mm.
actually, on the first song on the latest Okama Prophets record, in the chorus it has a heavy chorus effect on the guitar. Do you try to incorporate stuff like that, because into your music, from like, The Cure's very chorus heavy
I
bass?
can't, yeah, I can't not do that because those bands are playing in your head. And so when, I mean, that's like my reference. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like this needs a P90 pickup, Westerberg open tuned electric guitar for the chorus. And this needs a Cure clean hollow body guitar with an old fashioned chorus pedal on it. You know what I mean? And so it's not conscious. It's just that's all in there,
Hmm.
bubbling around. You know, and luckily, like you, it's not just music like that, but it's like old blues. I have a big in my head a lot of old blues songs and some jazz and all kinds of pop. Like I said, I'm a huge disco fan. That comes in on things. You just kind of got to know where to put it. You
Is
know?
that is you're saying that's easy for you to figure out, where to put those certain things?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I even figure it out. It's just
It just happens.
yeah, just like I guess I don't know what the word is. It's more like
An
intuitive.
instinct. Yeah.
Yeah, instinct.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm thinking. I'm not always right, and so sometimes oh well, that was a bad idea. I got to go do it over and try something else. But just like writing now, at my age, because I've been doing it so long, it's pretty fast.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think at this point for me too, it's kind of a little bit of an instinctual thing,
Yeah,
where
it's
it's
you don't
like
have a plan. You just kind of start
it just
messing
happens.
around.
Yeah. And I
You
think
know,
that's how the best songs are made too.
yeah, I think so too. But I do always have I think the word intent is very important when you're producing or mixing. Like one of the first questions I ask an artist when they play me a song, I'm like, okay, who are we? Who do you want this to sound like? And, not exactly, but like, is this supposed to be Little Feat meets the Rolling Stones, or is it supposed to be Joy Division meets, you know, um, Brandy Carlisle, or is it supposed to be what is it? Who are we here? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Just so I have a basis, because intent is very important. Like when I'm mixing, I'm not just like trying different compressors like willy nilly or whatever. I'm like, I know what I want. How do I get it?
Yeah,
That kind of thing.
that's awesome. I actually wanted to ask you about compression, because there's a big debate about whether digital compression actually does anything. I wanted to know your take on that, if you think,
You mean
you
for
know,
mastering or for mixing?
mastering.
Oh, mastering. Well, I'll tell you, you're asking the wrong guy about mastering. I don't master my own records. And
Really?
yeah, my favorite thing about my mastering guy is that he's not me. I want someone to have a fresh approach and listen to it without any of the, prejudice that you acquire through the long process of writing, recording, editing, and mixing a song. So I have a guy named Bruce Templeton that I use, and he's not expensive, and he has a studio set up solely for mastering. All right,
Wow.
and this is just my. There's a few people like that, even just in town here. Um, this is just my thing. I don't want to criticize any of the guys that are mastering their own records or any of the guys that have Pro Tools studios for producing music, and then they go, oh, and I master too. But I don't buy it. I don't do that. I don't master my own records. I'm not a mastering engineer. When I do a record, I want it to be mastered by a guy where all he does is master records, and that he has a studio set up with software specific to mastering, speakers specific to mastering, and that's all he does all day, every day. I want that guy. And luckily I have that guy.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, for mixing, do you use a lot of compression too?
I sometimes I do, but I don't think I use as much as a lot of my friends and heroes. Like Another guy that I've learned a lot from, I can't believe I forgot to mention his name because he's like one of my besties, John Fields. He's probably the most successful record producer in Minneapolis currently and has been for many years. And I've learned a lot from him. But just like, you know, I love his work, but I don't want to sound like him. Just like I love
Yeah.
David Z's work, but I don't want to sound like him either. I want to sound like, I guess I want to sound like me. And I don't think I use as much compression as a lot of other current big producers. Like one thing that kind of bugs me about a lot of pop records right now is they compress the vocal so much, and there's so much sibilance on the vocal because
Yeah.
compression brings that out. And I will do anything because some singers are just really sibilant. And those are always the singers that put the most S's in their lyrics too. But I've even done a thing where this is, I don't know if I made this up, but nobody showed it to me. I came up with it myself. Maybe other people are doing it. There's a singer I was working with that was so sibilant. And when I compressed her, the S's were just like they'd rip your head off. So I'd record 4 takes until I knew I had the lead vocal. And then I'd put up 57 with no recording compression and run it through a dark mic pre
An
and record
SM57.
on the 57.
Yeah, yeah.
And I do an extra vocal take on the 57 instead of my 251 fancy, $5,000 mic. And normally I'm recording with a little bit of compression, you know what I mean? And through that beautiful 251 mic. But the last take I did with a 57 with no compression, and I took the S's from that take and I cut them into the lead vocal track because
Wow.
look at S's don't sound the same on a microphone as they do between two dudes talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
My S's don't sound the same that you're hearing right now going through this microphone as they do in the room to me. Microphones hate S's. They hate them and they screw them up. But a dynamic mic like a 57 will screw them up less.
Yeah.
And so I took the S's from that track and bounced them into the lead vocal track because, yeah, I have every de-esser in the world. So, yeah, sometimes I use de-essers, but oftentimes I'll go in and volume automate down all the S's in the track. And if it's something severe, I will do that 57 trick.
That's Thank you. That's a really cool trick that I think I definitely can say I learned something today,
It's
which
time
is cool.
consuming. You're going to
Yeah.
hate me when you do it because it's a pain in the ass. But you got to do whatever you got to do to make it. And on a lot of, not a, on a significant number of pop and hip hop records lately, they just smash the vocal so much. And then playing on the radio smashes it even more. And anytime they hit an S, I'm just like, oh my Lord. And there's a bigger tolerance for that right now than there was in other decades. But I'm not tolerant of it. I don't like it. So I'm willing to do the extra work to make it not happen.
When you said bounce, I'm not too familiar with, like Pro Tools or like Ableton, but when I hear bounce, I think about Logic. Do you is that the software you usually
I'm on
mix
Pro
with?
Tools.
Pro Tools, okay.
Yeah, Pro
What
Tools.
about sorry.
No, go
What
ahead.
about Pro Tools do you think is better than
No,
Ableton or Logic?
no, I think Ableton is the best for, well, number one, they all sound the same. All right. It's not like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Ableton is definitely the best for beat-based music because of the way it's set up and the features that it has. It's also super inexpensive, and the company is a dream to deal with. The people at Ableton are so nice. Logic, also super cheap, I think is really great for people who aren't really, they're like singer-songwriters who want to record their own stuff. Logic is great for that. But you can also, I mean, I know a lot of super successful people that make records on Logic. It's really big in Europe. Pro Tools is, I think, not as big as Logic in Europe for whatever reason. It's a silly argument about which is best. It's like, I'm on Pro Tools because I've always been on Pro Tools. If they went out of business, I'd have to learn Ableton or Logic or both, and I would.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I You talked about this a little bit with like pop nowadays, with like the compression and stuff. How do you think music has changed? Because it's changed drastically since from when you started with like now there's
Well,
Spotify and
there's not as
there
much
was
money in it.
Napster. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
not. There's not as much money. I mean, I'm doing great and I'm lucky and I'm fortunate. I actually kind of some days I feel guilty, but uh, I think less people are making money doing music now. But the trade-off is, back before home studios and the internet and digital recording, making a record was really expensive because you basically had to have a 24 track tape machine. There's no way you're going to get one of those for less than what are they, $40,000, $50,000. So you're going to have to go to a studio to make your record. And I don't like the idea of that, of like, you know what I mean? People not being able to make a record because they can't afford to. That's sad. The cool
Yeah.
thing now is that anyone who wants to make a record can make a record. The tough thing now is that anyone who wants to make a record can make a record. So there's so much music coming out that you have to figure out a way to, go through it in order to find the good stuff, because there's so much out there. But the way I do it, there's an artist I'm working with for the last 5 years named Courtney Hadwin.
Yeah. I've seen you post about her. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a deal. She was on one of these stupid singing talent shows and got hugely viral at the age of 13. Millions and millions and millions and millions of views. And they signed her, Simon Cowell did, sat on her for 2 years, and then folded his company. So now she's 15. She gets signed by Larry Rudolph, who manages Britney Spears. He sits on her for 2 years. Well, I guess the Simon Cowell, they did release a EP of covers, no originals. I know. So then she's in with this other manager. They sit on her for 2 years and don't release anything. But they did introduce me to her, and we started writing over FaceTime. And then she got out of that deal. When she got out of her last deal, I called her up and I was like, dude, don't sign another deal. This is clearly isn't working for you. Look how
Yeah.
pissed you are. You've been in this business now for a few years and you've never released an original song. And she didn't know really how the business worked. I was like, look, there's this thing called DistroKid, and there's this thing called being an independent artist, and here's how we could do it. So I did the same deal with her as I do with like sync artists, that when we're putting something together to try and pitch it to film and TV. I said, we 50-50 partners. Everything's 50-50. I won't charge you to make the tracks. We'll write the songs together. Don't sign a publishing deal. Don't sign a record deal. We own the masters and the publishing 50-50. That way, everyone's complaining about Spotify. Spotify pays the same payout, in some ways even more, than Apple or Tidal or any of them. It's not like Spotify, people will fight me on this. I'm not a big fan of the owner of Spotify because making
A lot of
billions off
crazy
of,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah. But the company, the policy, the machine is not the problem. That is the way people listen to music now. The problem is that some of the bands, even that are successful on Spotify, they signed a label deal or a publishing deal. So they don't get any of the money, or very little, that they make off Spotify. With me and Courtney, yeah, we got to work harder to promote and stuff like that. But we have one song that's got 2 million spins on Spotify, and we get all the money,
Yeah.
all of it. We got another 2 songs that are over 1 million, and things on YouTube that are over 1 million. She's got over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. She's got 1 million Facebook and 1 million Insta, approximately, followers and stuff like that, still from that show. Her album that we did comes out in September, and I'm super excited because A, we get all the money, and B, no one was telling us what to do. We did exactly what we want to do. So people can complain all they want about Spotify, but a lot of the people that complain about Spotify, number one, either they sign their rights away to a label and or publisher, or nobody's listening to their music.
Yeah.
Don't blame Spotify because nobody's listening to your music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Either promote it more or
Play live.
play live. Exactly. Play live, or make better music that people want to hear.
Yeah.
So that's
Do you,
my take on it.
do you think it's harder for, I know a decent amount of bands now, they go, they tour the US, but they
They don't come home with any money in
it's
their pocket.
yeah. Yeah. But
Well,
they
I
still
grew up
get to
in
make
indie
another
rock, and
record.
so that's the way we always were. I mean, the Replacements didn't make any money for so long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they didn't expect to. You know what I mean? Same with Husker Du.
Yeah.
you know. And so the world I grew up in, you know what I mean? It was the indie rock world. So it's not that different for me because for me because we weren't making any money then, you know. Um, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a perfect answer. I hope there gets to be another model for listening to music where artists make more money, but Spotify is the thing for right now.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. I think, I use DistroKid too. And I think it's great. Um, I think it's probably the best non, it's not like at least to me, it doesn't seem like there's any hidden, you know,
No,
secret stuff going on.
I've had good luck with them. The only problem I would say with DistroKid is if there's ever a problem, you can't get anyone on the phone. You're on
Really?
your own. Oh, it's terrible that way. But very rarely will you have a problem.
Yeah. No, I've never had a problem with them, and I'm
I
probably
had
going to continue to use it.
one,
Oh,
and I had to really, with Courtney's, my British artist, I had one problem where they accidentally released some lyrics to her upcoming album, and she was freaking out. She didn't want anyone to have them, and so I had to send them several nasty emails before they got rid of them off one of those sites that prints lyrics.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely wasn't the end of the world, but some people thought it was.
That's unfortunate. It happens. But
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on and talking to me. And the last two guys I interviewed, they I know you said you don't like playing live, but I might as well just ask you anyway. They played a song at the end. If you wanted to play a song, that'd be cool. You don't have to if you don't want to though.
Oh, you know, after 10 years, I don't think I want to do that to your audience. I just don't think it
Yeah.
would be cruel. I think it would be cruel to do that to them. But instead of a song, okay, let's do this. Okay, just a second. Hold on. Unplug this. We'll go on a little walk. Tell me if I'm aiming right. Are we seeing gear?
Oh yeah, yeah, I can see it. Wow.
So we got a couple of distressors. We got a bunch of API, a couple of fake APIs, a Manly, a couple of other boutique stereo compressors, some UA, a pendulum, a couple of Cush audio, 4 Neves, Patch Bay. Here's the other stuff. This LA2A is killer. Love it. Love that company. Audioscape. Also have their 1176, that double wide in the rack. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't tell if the computer can see it or not. ATC monitors have been just a lifesaver for me. For your music, dude, you really might want to consider getting one of these.
What's
Chroma
that?
console. Chroma console.
Here, I'll write it down.
It's super cool, and the chorus and stuff like that in it is sick.
Is it like a multi-effects? Uh,
Yes,
Sweet.
but very lo-fi, intentionally
Perfect.
lo-fi.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And then here's the. See, isn't this better than just singing a dorky song?
Yeah.
Here's the drum room.
So it looks like you have a snare mic and overhead and so how are your drums mic'd up?
Okay, so we've got. This is going to sound really dorky because I've gotten a lot of crap from other engineers. I have 4 mics on the kick drum, and
Oh
laugh all
wow.
you want, but I never have to use kick drum samples anymore unless I'm trying to do something weird. Um, so I have a kick in like everybody else, a kick out, and then I have one of those backwards NS10 things, sub kick things, and then I have a PZM on the inside for the attack. I have on overheads, I have 2 Peluso. They're a remake of the Neve. I always forget what those are. Those amazing Neve mics. They don't make them anymore. What the hell is this called? The Neve KM84, not the 184, but the 84. They don't make them anymore, and they're just beautiful. But this company makes a remake of those that I use on my overheads, and I just love those mics. I love the company Peluso. They make a great remake of the vintage 414 also that I use on electric guitar cabinets. It's beautiful. And then my kind of half overhead, half room mics, they're sidewash mics, are these Coles. British ribbon mics, very, very, very dark.
Mm.
So if I want a darker overhead sound, I'll lean on the Coles. And if I want a brighter one, I'll lean on the 84s. And then everything else is pretty standard, except for check out these cool rack tom. Is this, can't tell if you're seeing it or not. Are you seeing a rack tom mic stand thingy?
Yeah.
This thing is amazing. I can get the floor tom and rack tom mics to be aimed exactly the way I want. This, I told you, during COVID, was bored and I got super nerdy. That's when I got these ceiling things for the overhead mics and the
Oh,
sidewash
those are
mics,
cool. Yeah.
because then you don't have as much crap on the floor. And then the
That's
other
that's really
different thing
smart.
they're great. They don't give them away, but they're really well made and great. I also take and put a ribbon mic. You see down here between the kick and the snare. It usually is right here. I take a ribbon mic, like a Royer, because it's it's in figure eight, because most ribbon mics are just figure eight. And why am I not? Why is there something blocking my go away thing? Oh well, I can't see myself. I can see you. So you take this Royer and you put it between the snare bottom and the kick, and then I put it through this plugin called Spiff, made by a company from Finland called Oak Sound. And there's this preset on it you can use called Disco Snare, which basically cuts off the sustain on everything. And am I getting too deep for you?
No, no, I love
Okay.
this. You say it's nerdy, but I'm a nerd about it too. So
Okay, good. So this mic gets just kick drum and bottom snare, and nothing else is in there, because the thing about compression is compression sounds great on drums, but compression can sound really terrible on cymbals that are going,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But they're all in the same room when person is playing. So how do you compress the drums without compressing the cymbals too? You could do that on the close mics of the drums, but I'd like to compress a room mic, and that's possible, more easily possible in a big drum room, but my drum room isn't big. It's small to mid-size. So this Royer in between the kick and the snare gets just kick and snare. Then you run it through this plugin that cuts off all sustain. And so it's literally just kick and snare. There's no toms, there's no cymbals in it. And then you smash the crap out of that with a very obvious heavy-handed compressor, not subtle, right? High
yeah,
ratio. And so then you've got, I call it the Amy Winehouse mic, because it sounds like, and there's no from the cymbals in it. And then you can even put a little bit of trashy reverb on it, and you sneak that into the main drum sound, and then you've got it sounds like a bigger room, and it's a lot of character. A little of that is stuff that I learned from another engineer who's really, really been influential on me, and a very helpful guy that I got to work with on a few records, Vance Powell.
oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
he's really open and generous with his knowledge, and he's helped me. This is my own version of, he does that, but in a different way, and I figured out my own way to do it that works for me in my room.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you so much. Like I said, I've got this all written down now, and I mean, I can go back and watch it anyway, but you know,
If it doesn't work, then ask me, hit me back, because I'll tell you. I'm telling you, it's the coolest trick for a small drum room. I don't know if it'd work in every room, if everyone would like it, but it's just been really, really great for my workflow.
yeah, yeah. Again, thank you for agreeing to do this and talking to me, and I'll definitely talk to you soon.
All right, no problem. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Talk to you later.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.